Hello, and welcome to Lyla's Lullabies, where we spend time exploring with Lyla, a traveler who wanders the world at her own pace, while sharing her most enriching and restorative moments with you. And tonight's story will follow Lyla as she spends the exciting Semana Grande in San Sebastián, Spain. There's nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to remember. Just settle in, get comfortable, and let yourself go. We're so glad you're here. Whenever you're ready, let's begin. The August morning in San Sebastián arrived warm and bright, and Lyla woke to the sound of voices drifting up from the narrow street below. Their hotel was tucked in the heart of Parte Vieja, the old town. A maze of pedestrian streets lined with pintxos bars and centuries-old buildings. "Is the festival starting?" her friend Josie asked, already dressed and looking out the window. "Possibly. The town is popping," Marina said, consulting her phone. "The big week. Music, fireworks, street performances, everything. It's gonna be lit." "Literally," Claire said. "I can't wait for tonight." "I thought Americans were big on fireworks after I went there for 4th of July, Beth said. "But it seems they've met their match with the Europeans. I saw the videos on YouTube from last year. I can't wait either." The friendship between the five of them, Lyla, Marina, Beth, Claire, and Josie, went back to college days and shared apartments and late-night conversations that had solved the world's problems. Life had scattered them across different cities, different careers, different paths. But the bond had remained, and these days, the glue were these meetups when they each took turns choosing an amazing global location. They had always wanted to visit San Sebastián and decided to go all in, scheduling their trip for Semana Grande, the city's biggest festival. They had breakfast at a cafe around the corner, strong coffee and fresh pastries, the morning sun already warming the small plaza. Around them, locals were setting up for the day's festivities, hanging decorations and testing sound systems. "So what's the plan?" Lyla asked. "Wander the old town this morning," Marina said. "See the basilica, the plaza, walk along La Concha Bay, maybe climb Mount Urgull for the views. Pintxos crawl for lunch. That's essential. Then I thought we could head to Zurriola Beach for the afternoon. Watch the surfers. Come back for the evening festivities and the fireworks competition over the bay." "That's ambitious," Claire said. "We're in San Sebastián during Semana Grande," Marina said. "We have to max out. We can rest next week." They started by wandering through Parte Vieja's narrow streets. The neighborhood was beautiful. 18th and 19th century buildings painted in cream and ochre, wrought iron balconies overflowing with flowers, the streets barely wide enough for two people to walk side by side. Laundry hung from some balconies, adding color and a sense of lived-in authenticity. The Basilica of Santa Maria del Coro rose up in one of the small plazas, its Baroque facade ornate and impressive despite the limited space around it. The doorway was elaborately carved, and above it, a statue of the Virgin Mary looked down over the plaza. "It's from the 1700s. Beth read from a plaque, built on the site of an earlier medieval church." They stepped inside, and the interior was beautiful. High ceilings, Baroque altarpieces heavy with gold leaf, stained glass casting colored light across the pews. The church was cool and quiet, a refuge from the growing heat outside. Lyla stood in the center, looking up at the vaulted ceiling. The space had that particular quality of old churches, a sense of accumulated prayer, of centuries of people seeking something beyond themselves. The Baroque decoration was overwhelming in its detail, every surface carved or painted or gilded, but there was also a peacefulness beneath the visual noise. "How many churches have we seen on these trips?" Josie asked quietly. "Too many to count," Marina said, "but they're all different. This one feels very Spanish. The Baroque opulence, the drama." From the basilica they walked to Plaza de la Constitución, the heart of the old town. The plaza was surrounded by tall buildings, painted in cream with green shutters, each one numbered. Remnants of when the plaza had served as a bullring, the numbers marking where spectators sat. "They held bullfights here until the 1840s, a local woman said, noticing them looking at the numbers. She was setting up a flower stand at the edge of the plaza. "Now it's just for festivals and concerts. Much better use of the space, I think." "You live here?" Beth asked. "All my life. 73 years in San Sebastián. I've seen a lot of changes, but the city stays beautiful. You're here for Semana Grande?" "We are," Lyla said. "First time for the festival." "Ah, wonderful. You'll love it." "Tonight's fireworks are supposed to be special. Italy is competing, and they always put on a good show. Get a spot on La Concha early if you want a good view. The beach fills up fast." They thanked her and continued walking, eventually emerging from the tight streets of the old town onto the Paseo de la Concha, the promenade that curved along the bay. La Concha Bay spread before them in a perfect crescent. Golden sand beach, calm blue-green water, the island of Santa Clara sitting like a punctuation mark in the middle of the bay, and the hills of Monte Urgull rising on the far side. The bay was famous for being one of the most beautiful urban beaches in Europe, and standing there, Lyla understood why. The curve of the bay was graceful and perfectly proportioned, the promenade lined with elegant Belle Epoque buildings and a white railing that kept the eye moving smoothly along the waterfront. Palm trees and tamarisks provided shade, and the beach was already filling with families setting up umbrellas and spreading towels. The water was calm, protected by the bay's geography, and swimmers dotted the surface. "This is gorgeous," Marina said, taking photos. "Like something from a postcard," Josie agreed. They walked along the promenade, taking their time, enjoying the views and the August warmth. The city had a relaxed holiday atmosphere, people strolling, children running ahead of parents, dogs being walked, elderly couples sitting on benches watching the bay. "Should we climb Mount Urgull?" Beth suggested, pointing at the forested hill that rose at the eastern end of the old town. "How steep is it?" Claire asked suspiciously. "There's a path," Marina said. "It winds up gradually, and there's a castle at the top, Castillo de la Mota. And views," Lyla added. "Supposedly incredible views." The path up Mount Urgull started near the aquarium and wound through pine and eucalyptus forests. It was steeper than Marina had suggested, but not grueling, and the shade from the trees kept it comfortable despite the August heat. They passed other hikers, locals who clearly used this as their regular exercise route, tourists stopping frequently to take photos. The path offered occasional glimpses through the trees of the bay below and the city spreading along the coast. At the summit, the Castillo de la Mota commanded the hilltop, an old military fortress, now peaceful, its walls and ramparts open to exploration. But the real attraction was the views. From here they could see all of San Sebastian spread out below. La Concha Bay curved gracefully, the beach a ribbon of gold, the Belle Epoque buildings of the promenade creating an elegant facade. The old town was a dense cluster of terracotta roofs, and beyond it the newer parts of the city spread in neat grids. On the far side of the bay, Mount Urgull rose up, its funicular visible as a thin line climbing the hillside. The ocean stretched to the horizon, impossibly blue in the August sun. "This is worth the climb," Claire said, actually meaning it. "Told you," Beth said. Lyla walked along the fortress walls, taking in the panorama from different angles. The city was nestled perfectly between the bay and the mountains, protected and beautiful. She could see why San Sebastián had been a favorite summer destination for Spanish royalty and European aristocrats. The combination of the beach, the elegant architecture, and the surrounding green hills created something special. From up here, she could also see the preparations for the evening festivities, stages being set up, barriers being positioned, the sense of a city preparing to celebrate. Even from this distance, the energy was palpable. "We should head down," Marina said after they'd fully absorbed the views. "Time for the most important part of the day, pintxos." The descent was quicker, and they emerged back into the old town, hungry and ready for lunch. Pintxos, the Basque version of tapas, were everywhere, displayed on bars in nearly every establishment. Small pieces of bread topped with everything imaginable. "The idea is to bar hop," Marina explained. "Have one or two pintxos and a drink at each place, then move to the next. You make a route through the neighborhood." They started at a bar near the basilica, where the pintxos were works of art. Layers of ingredients held together with toothpicks, each one a carefully constructed flavor combination. Lyla tried one with salt cod and peppers, another with foie gras and fig jam. They ordered chicory, the local slightly sparkling white wine, and stood at the bar like the locals. "This is incredible," Josie said, her mouth full. "How is something this small so flavorful?" "That's the Basque culinary philosophy," their bartender said, overhearing. "Quality over quantity. Every pintxo should be perfect." They moved to another bar, this one specializing in seafood, anchovies, and smoked salmon and crab. Then another featuring mushrooms and local cheeses. Another with creative, modern combinations. The crawl took them deeper into the old town, each bar having its own specialty, its own loyal customers, its own character. "I'm getting full," Claire admitted after their fifth stop. "That's the point," Lyla said. "Death by pintxos." They finished at a bar that had been recommended by their hotel, a tiny place with just a few tables and a bar overflowing with pintxos. They ordered the house specialties and glasses of local cider, finding a spot to stand near the window. "I could live here," Beth said. "Just eat pintxos every day." "A nice fantasy, but after a couple of weeks you'd probably have to size up your wardrobe," Marina pointed out. After lunch, full and happy, they caught a taxi to Zurriola Beach on the other side of the city. The beach had a different character from La Concha, wider, more exposed to the Atlantic swell, popular with surfers. The beach was busy with young people, and the waves were consistent, rolling in with regularity. They found a spot on the sand and settled in to watch. Surfers in black wetsuits paddled out, waited for waves, rolled them in with varying degrees of success. The scene was mesmerizing. The rhythm of the ocean, the surfers, dedication, the casual beach culture. "This is perfect," Marina said, lying back on her towel. Food coma by the ocean. They stayed for a couple of hours, dozing and reading and watching the surfers. The August sun was hot, but the Atlantic breeze kept it bearable. Eventually, as the afternoon wore toward evening, they stirred themselves. "Should we head back?" Lyla suggested. "The festivities start around sunset." They caught a taxi back to La Concha, and the transformation was remarkable. The promenade was packed with people. Stages had been set up at various points along the beach, and the atmosphere was festive and energetic. Music played from multiple sources. Street performers entertained crowds. Food vendors sold everything from churros to grilled sardines. They wandered through the festivities, stopping to watch a brass band, a group of traditional Basque dancers, a juggler who kept dropping his pins to comedic effect. The energy was joyful and inclusive, families mixing with young people, tourists welcomed alongside locals. They found a spot on the beach as the sun was setting, the western sky turning orange and pink, the bay reflecting the colors. The crowd on the beach was enormous now, thousands of people finding spots, spreading blankets, settling in for the fireworks. "Let's light this candle," Marina said, smiling. As full darkness arrived, the music from the various stages grew louder, building anticipation. And then, promptly at 11 p.m., the first fireworks launched from a barge in the bay. The display was spectacular. Fireworks exploded over the water, their reflections doubling the effect, colors cascading across the bay. The Italians had clearly brought their best. Intricate patterns, surprising colors, perfectly timed sequences that built and built to crescendos. The crowd, delighted with each new burst, applauded particularly impressive sequences, gasped at the unexpected moments. Lyla watched, her neck craned back, feeling the concussion of the larger shells in her chest, smelling the sulfur smoke drifting across the beach. The show lasted half an hour, ending with a massive finale that lit up the entire bay, smoke hanging in the air over the water, the crowd on their feet applauding and cheering. "That was incredible," Josie said as the applause finally died down. "Totally worth it," Claire agreed, coughing slightly. Her friends laughed. They stayed on the beach for a while longer, watching as people slowly dispersed, some heading home, others moving toward the bars and clubs in the old town. The city's energy wasn't fading, just shifting, transforming into the nightlife phase of the festival. "Should we hit the town?" Marina suggested. They found a bar with outdoor seating near Plaza de la Constitución, ordered Spanish wine and some late-night pintxos, and settled in to people watch and decompress from the day. "Best moment?" Beth asked. "The view from Mount Urgull," Lyla said. "Seeing the whole city laid out like that, understanding how it all fits together." "The pintxos and crawl," Claire said immediately. "Obviously." "Watching the surfers at Zurriola," Marina said. "So peaceful." "The fireworks," Josie said. That finale was unreal. All of it, Beth said. The whole day was a blast. They sat at the bar for another hour, watching the festival continue around them, soaking in the atmosphere of San Sebastián during Semana Grande. Eventually, as midnight approached, they paid their bill and walked slowly back to their hotel through the narrow streets of Parte Vieja. The neighborhood was still lively, music drifting from bars, people lingering in plazas, the festival showing no signs of stopping. But their hotel street was quieter, a small pocket of calm in the celebration. In their rooms, they opened the windows to let in the August night air and the distant sounds of the festival. Lyla settled by the window, looking out at the narrow street below, listening to the city. She thought about the day, the Baroque beauty of the basilica, the perfect curve of La Concha Bay, the climb up Mount Urgull, and the panoramic views from the castle, the endless variety of pintxos, the surfers at Zurriola riding wave after wave, the joyful energy of Semana Grande, the spectacular fireworks reflected in the bay. San Sebastián was beautiful in that effortless way some places have, naturally blessed with perfect geography and enhanced by centuries of thoughtful building. The bay, the beaches, the mountains, the elegant architecture, all of it working together to create something harmonious. But what made the day special was the celebration. The city coming together to mark Semana Grande, the streets filled with music and performance and food, the communal experience of watching the fireworks over the bay. There was a generosity in it, a sharing of joy that welcomed everyone. The August night was warm, and she could still hear music. Somewhere, a guitar being played, voices singing, the festival continuing into the small hours as festivals do. Tomorrow they'd explore more. Maybe the aquarium, or the funicular up Monte Urgull, or just more wandering through the pintxos bars. But tonight, Lyla held this day, the walk along La Concha's perfect curve, the views from the fortress, the flavors of a dozen pintxos, the calm of Zurriola Beach, and the spectacular explosion of color and light over the bay. All of it experienced with friends who appreciated both the beauty of the city and the joy of a good festival, who could climb mountains in the morning and bar hop in the afternoon, who made every discovery better by sharing it. The night deepened around her, the festival sounds gradually fading as even San Sebastián eventually needed to rest. Lyla sat by the window, held by the warm air and the memory of fireworks reflecting on water, grateful for this day and this beautiful city on the Basque coast, where the ocean met the mountains and the people knew how to celebrate.